is about. It is about the battle I mentioned, Captain.
Star Trek The Next Generation was a show.
Star Trek The Next Generation.
Everybody I interact. A show that I started watching when I was a really little kid. Can you believe it's been 30 years since Star Trek The Next Generation first?
Star Trek The Next Generation was my life.
I really grew up.
My relationship to how I should conduct myself. It was the escape from reality and all the good stories. Welcome to Next Generation's First Generation, where Patrick Delmore and Sascha Schaudies take a look back into their favorite childhood show, Star Trek The Next Generation. This is where we attempt to reconcile how we felt as children watching the show and looking back as old farts now in our late 30s, almost 40s. This is a watch-along podcast, so make sure to queue up your favorite DVD or Netflix, and we'll give you the countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to basically watch along with the episode.
Hello and welcome to the 9th episode of Next Generation's First Generation. I'm Patrick Delmore.
And I'm Sascha Schaudies.
And with us tonight, Matt is back. From the episode The Naked Now, he has returned to join us to talk about the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Battle. Matt, what do you like about this episode?
What I like best about this episode, it was like a course correction for the Ferengi.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like the first time we saw them, it was just going to be one of those one-shot aliens. They didn't quite know what they were doing. It was just something they did. And now they finally decided, well, we're going to keep them around, so we have to try to establish them in some sort of way that can be repeated.
Well,
I would have to agree with you. They kind of foreshadow the Ferengi a lot in the first season, and so when we first met the Ferengi, they called them, what was it? Yankee traders was the equivalent, and you definitely see that in this episode, which was actually really important because the premise of the episode was the daemon, that's the captain of the Ferengi, wanted to just give a gift away for free, and that really messed with his crew. Like, well, we don't understand what's going on, there's no profit in it. And so I think that just the mechanism of the plot really kind of helped sell who the species was as a character.
Yeah, it was like the equivalent of Captain Picard wanting to sell a vessel to somebody. Everyone was like, well, that's not quite how we do things.
So today we're watching on the standard definition DVD. You can also watch along HD on Netflix. We'll try to be mindful of the then and now changes. They've done an excellent job in the Next Gen HD on Netflix. The remastering is pretty nice. Time and time again, I say I wish they'd release widescreen, but they'll never do that. Otherwise, they'll just see a lot of the stage. Let's see here. This episode came out November 16th, 1987. I would be roughly 8 years old. Pat,
I would have been 5 years old.
Yeah, and Mr. Matt?
I have no idea because I can't do math in my head.
Math!
Matt was 4.
If you say so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we should probably get this underway. This is a commentary show, and we have been looking at a blank screen.
Oh, dear. So, okay, I'm going to give the countdown in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it should be playing. There we
There it
go.
goes. This is a special effect that was immediately corrected on the HD version, because man, does it look crummy here. Not this fish tank. Fish tank looks awesome.
Never saw that fish tank again in Picard's quarters.
Again, there's a lot of good fan fiction about what happened to all this stuff. So, standby message from the Ferengi, who... The first time that I know of that I saw a Ferengi ship was a micro machine of a Ferengi ship.
Oh, cool,
It was a set of all the Star Trek ships, and there was one in there. I was like, what in the world is this? And that was the Ferengi ship. They're very bizarre looking. I mean, I guess they make sense as trading vessels, but not as military vessels.
It almost reminded me of like a weapon. Like, all they did was they removed the holster and you could jab somebody with it, with its 4 pointy edges.
Now here's the big bugaboo of this episode. Picard is having headaches, which Dr. Crusher is going to tell him have been cured by this point. It's very unusual for people to have headaches. And colds, for some reason. Which, to me, implies that if they were to travel back in time like they will do later on, they would get sick so fast.
Yeah, the biofilter.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yep. This is our first really Crusher-heavy episode where she's not Wesley's mom, Crusher, where she's really the doctor.
And the doctor's telling him what to do, too.
Yeah. We've seen her doctoring before, but we haven't seen her really take charge. Even in the episode where Picard was possessed by the entity.
So this is the second Ferengi episode for us?
Yes, the first was The Last Outpost, which is one I know that I did see when it originally aired. I don't know when I saw this one. I rewatched it for this, and I was almost completely unfamiliar with the plot of it.
Also notice that behind the Ferengi, it's just a bright white background. You can tell they didn't want to spend the money on designing a Ferengi bridge.
Well, but you can backtrack and go, they didn't want anyone that they were trading with to know what resources they had on hand. Well, they walked into a white room to do the communication. But Picard has just been saluted as the hero of Maxia, which he doesn't quite know what they're talking about.
I appreciate your offer there, Mamba. We would like
Boy, they even throw the light in his face there.
Yep. They did stick with this about the Ferengi that they wanted to be real close up, because they're tiny folk. The Ferengi are little people.
So originally they were going to do several scenes on the Ferengi ship, but never made it. They actually were. They were shot and cut.
Huh. Interesting.
Looks like a big mushroom in space.
All right.
So this episode was directed by Rob Bowman, story by Larry Forrester, teleplay by Herbert Wright. Ron Jones is the music. Edward R. Brown is the cinematographer in this. And the big question that everybody wants to know
is, did I make up a song to go with this episode?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Oh, here it comes.
Just now. Damon Bach had a ship and tried to trick Picard. Oh, don't the headaches mean something weird is going on? Turns out the Picard maneuver, it was beatable. Oh yeah, Commander Data figured it out in a couple seconds. That's my attempt to parody the Battle of Evermore by Led Zeppelin, who will probably sue us if they listen to this, but they're not going to listen to this.
I think you're lucky to know that you were so far off that we did not know that was a Led Zeppelin song. What's kind of cool about this episode is that the director Bowman, for the Bridge of the Stargazer, was a redesigned movie-era Klingon Bird of Prey.
Interesting.
Bridge. Yep. And this show does borrow a lot of old props. Which
is okay, because it gives you a familiar feeling. I watched a making-of special years ago where they said that was done very deliberately. These two ships are matted together so badly. Again, fixed really well for the HD version.
Yeah, the Stargazer is supposed to be a composite of the Constitution-class saucer section and warp nacelles of that era. And they did it specifically as a hybrid, just like the Nebula class vessels are a hybrid of the Galaxy class.
Ooh. I kind of like where they went with the Ambassador class ship. We didn't see a lot of that. You see a lot of design in the game Star Trek Armada 3, which is a fan fiction mod.
Yeah, the Ambassador class was supposed to be the ship that bridged between classic era style ships and then the new style they did for the next generation.
So, I didn't know what well, no one knew what laptops were back in the 80s. And here we see these little desktop monitors. We just saw Dr. Crusher working on one. So cool.
It's so odd that people watching this for the first time will not necessarily realize that was not technology that we had.
Well,
Lord, here's Wesley being completely inappropriate about how he approaches the commander. He comes in and tells him that there's going to be an intruder alert. And what he means is that there's an object off the bow of the ship that they don't know what it is.
Well, they're still doing the shut up Wesley attitude.
Well, as well they should be. This is actually the best episode of the season so far, and it's kind of ruined by Troy and Wesley, as we will shortly discover. Hi, Troy.
Picard's
Yes.
empath.
Here's how you do it, Wesley.
This is Larry Forrester's second script for Next Gen.
We are receiving no signal at all from the approaching starship, sir.
Blow it up!
Time, sir. Time.
Picard's got his headache again.
Oh.
Time!
Ferengi, do you see any problem connected with this old starship coming in, number one? Suggest it would be safer, sir, to have the Ferengi here, whatever. Stand by.
Bring the Ferengi over.
Whoa! The synth is strong with you.
Yeah. Ooh,
Animal pelts
even
and
their transporter beams are crooked, which is weird because really the transporter beams should look exactly the same every time.
I guess.
Maybe if they're beaming from the ship to a planet, but if they're just beaming ship to ship.
They could be different colors, like the Klingons use red, but it shouldn't. Yeah, you're right. It shouldn't come in a spiral pattern like that.
Unless they did it, completely on their own. It's interesting where on the ship they have transporters.
So, I should go over to your house and demand why all the women in your house are clothed, Patrick.
Yeah.
It's just so odd, if they're businessmen to go around and just start insulting all the women.
Is second-hand merchandise.
He just called Data a used car.
Yep. Data wouldn't know what a car is, I don't think.
A human joke.
An automobile.
Mr. Data, where is my automobile? Sorry, it had to be done. I like when they had the chainmail at the back of their heads and not the green visors back there.
Right. Well, when I was a kid, I was always really curious what's behind that veil. Like, is it some kind of ridged, slimy thing?
Now we know it's nothing.
It's their version of a backwards baseball cap.
Yep.
He may refer to an encounter which occurred 9 years ago in the Maxia Zeta star system.
You think you'd remember that?
Not necessarily. I'm going to get into this in a minute. Well, I guess I might as well get into it now, actually. So, this whole episode is going to hinge on Picard is not sure if he remembers what happened at the Battle of Maxia correctly. And if you've ever been in a situation at work where, and I've had this happen to me several times, where I had to deliver paperwork to someone and they lost that paperwork, and this happened months ago, and you're not sure because it was a completely casual thing you did, handing them this paperwork, whether or not them saying you didn't give it to them is accurate or not. That's the situation Picard's in. He really does not remember. he has a pretty good idea of what happened, but there's reasonable doubt for everybody around him.
If I was responsible for blowing up a ship, though, I think I'd remember it.
Yeah.
At the very least, remember where it happened. It's like if you got in a car accident, you're like, oh, I can't remember if it happened in Washington State or Oregon.
So, Picard's old ship came up, his first command or his last command?
The last command he had, well, I guess before the Enterprise, which I believe they'll say later on was his first command. He started off as an ensign and then became captain of the ship.
That's a fast jump.
Well, I mean, it also depends how many years he spent on there.
And then if the Battle of Maxia was 9 years ago, what was he doing? Not captaining anything for all that time.
Yeah, you gotta
Look at
wonder
those.
where he was at.
Yeah.
Those bedroom eyes there. We don't see that too much of him anymore.
It's my old ship. How did you find it? It was a diary.
Now, you know what's funny about... would be funny about a starship?
What's that?
It's not like,
It's none of my business, Captain.
you know, being on an aircraft carrier where you would see the outside of it frequently.
If you wish to
Huh.
It's like he'd know from the, what is it, call letters on it. What are those called, Matt?
The registry
The
numbers.
he'd know from the registry numbers looking at it. But, like, if they just passed it, he wouldn't go, oh, that's,
That's my ship.
yeah.
So you know what the NCC stands for in the registry?
What does that stand for?
Naval Construction Contract.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
And so the registry number 1701 is the contract number that would they went for the ship being built.
Huh.
So he's back in biobed.
Oh, Lord, here's...
I don't like Troy's cold reading.
No.
It goes nowhere.
Sure, it wasn't one of my faults. At that moment, I remember.
She's not... Her conviction at this point is not great.
You were hit. I found it burning.
Something's burning, my lord. Stargazer, oh Lord, Stargazer.
Memory or nightmare?
Memory or nightmare? Nightmare or memory? Do you have a coin I can flip? Blast it, landed on its side. It's a nightmare of a memory, I must say.
I like how they basically have him in an X-ray machine just to find out what his headache is about.
Yeah.
So interesting, Excelsior, or not Excelsior, excuse me, Constellation class trivia. It was first appeared as a desktop model in Picard's Ready Room in Counter and Farpoint, and the creator just mashed up two kits, one from the Enterprise, from the movie, for and then also a kit from a VF-1 Valkyrie.
Oh,
Just married them together and made them a
That's cool.
spaceship.
that's the way to do it.
I improvised with the enemy vessel coming in for the kill.
And here's Picard. Strangely enough, has what appears to be a desktop pen.
Yeah.
Just happens to have that there to demonstrate his piece.
From his archaeological collection.
The contrast is much better in the HD version.
He had, I want to say that he the reason Data has that pipe is that was something Picard picked up to do a demonstration with one time, and Data just carried it out of the room.
Is Data the office klepto?
Yeah.
Collecting little trophies from each person he steals from?
This is Picard's ancient pen from the lost civilization of Bic.
Yeah. Apparently they made razors as well. I don't need a razor. I'm bald as a cue ball.
I've seen the screenshots of him when he did his production test with his wig on,
Yeah.
and it's actually pretty humorous.
Oh, Stuart had a wig?
Yeah,
Yep.
I did not know that. Look at that.
Here we are.
What a
on
great
the
set.
Bridge of the Stargazer.
Now, at first I thought, wow, this is a really well thought out set. And I'm like, no, it's a movie piece.
You can see the movie era chairs and...
Yeah. That looks like a comfy chair.
So, the last time we actually saw Constellation, like you said, was on his desktop, so they really had no idea, like you said, about the bridge designs, whether they make it look like a next generation or an original series one. So, you know, it's actually kind of nice that they decided to go back to that era, put the time and effort.
The continuity, the show's always done really good of theming their continuity between the original series and next gen. Like they had this classic era of design. The
It
bridge
was
is
not
clear.
much of a sweep, as we will shortly find out.
It was more like, well, I checked this doorway.
Yep.
And,
It's like, well, if you checked it as thoroughly as you did that Aryan sex planet, I think we'll be just fine. Oh yeah, I've stepped on a bush.
Oh, so Picard's having some feels. His old command. This is your
it up
fault.
before they gave it to me.
It's a comfy chair. Good music. Ron Jones music here.
So that right there, they're using what's called a steady cam because they wanted a few shots that were a little bit more over the shoulder but not too wobbly. Not that shot there with Data, but when they're tracking Picard across the stage.
You notice how they labeled all the stations, too.
Batman probably worked there.
Yeah.
The Picard phone for the Picard maneuver.
It's the Picard replicator. It seems to only dispense tea.
Except Picard's thing would be Frère Jacques, Frère Jacques, Frère Jacques, Frère Jacques, Jean-Luc, Jean-Luc.
That's such a cool looking ship. In Armada 3, this is the repair ship. So, whoa!
Matt is passing around a picture of Picard with hair, which we will link in the show notes.
It looks great. Oh, he's got a headache. Oh, and Bach is turning up the...
This is a very Doctor Who-ish device right here.
Looks like one of those salad spinners you buy
It's
at
interesting.
Bed Bath & Beyond.
These forbidden objects you hear about on this and turned up on Deep Space Nine as a game.
That's right!
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yep. Seem to function very, very similarly.
And you do see these Orbish-like control panels in future Ferengi shuttlecraft. You never see big Ferengi cruisers anymore.
Right.
Which is too bad.
Actually, it was quite a bargain because I thought that Ferengi always made a
So Riker's having a first officer to first officer conversation.
set sub warp speed control before. Answer.
Subwarp speed being impulse speed, of course.
I really tied one on down there on the Stargazer. I mixed some Tranya with some Romulan ale.
Very well.
Mixing his alien booze.
You're strange, number one. I go back to the house you grew up in, but no one's home except phantoms of the past.
Like I grew up in a shack in Alaska.
And how much of this damn headache?
Damn headache. Yeah.
I see.
There is a pre-TNG novel called The Buried Age that also talks about the Battle of Maxia.
Huh.
So I'm kind of interested in that storyline.
And you'd think they'd scan anything
I
they
love
brought
that
over for the
this
captain.
office just has like a regular desk chair with the four wheels on the bottom of it.
Oh, I love it. Those chairs are everywhere.
Yeah.
In the observation lounge, you can still see like the rise and lower levers underneath the chairs.
Could not be comfortable to sleep on a pillow.
It's a space pillow, man.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be better because it's the
Yeah, it's
future.
the original sleep number.
PTSD for the captain. Is it the box making those? Whoa.
Yeah, I was just saying, you'd think they would have scanned that box pretty thoroughly.
Right?
before just giving it and sticking it in the captain's room.
Captain's prerogative.
Hang on just a sec.
Stargazer, sir. What the Ferengi call the Battle of Maxia. It seems the captain's personal log contains a much different version of that conflict in the official historic account. What do you say?
Okay, this isn't the scene. There's a scene later where Data's explaining these logs to Riker, and Geordi's in the room, and I think he flubs the line, and Riker just pushes through, and you see Geordi about to crack up. I'll point it out when we get there.
It is logged in his own voice, sir.
His own voice. Nobody does an impersonation of Jean-Luc Picard like Jean-Luc Picard.
Sir.
I'm gazing off, frightened into the distance. Data, don't interrupt me. 3 ships.
The tractor beam looks a lot better.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this episode is a prime example of why the HD is better than the SD.
I refuse to believe you ever said that.
So several reviewers rewatched this episode for a show called the AV Club in 2010, and what Zach Handlin was saying that the Ferengi were kind of a one-note opponent, which we kind of all agree. And what was really funny was that, but they were good. But the episode wasn't as bad as they were in the last outpost.
Exactly.
So, kind of pulled them out of that weird zone.
The Ferengi really don't develop into a character really worth paying attention to until Deep Space Nine.
I don't know. I think they get a few episodes in the future, but we'll cross those bridges when we come to them.
That could become a severe embarrassment to stop.
I think that here in this room, these two guys knew the Ferengi more by reputation than they did by encounters. I think this is really only the second time that any of them have dealt directly with the Ferengi. They've heard a lot about them. And I think that the Ferengi work hard building up intimidating profiles for themselves that don't always match with reality.
This is a confession given by me, Jean-Luc.
So here's Picard. This is the did I or didn't I moment.
Related honesty will be taken into account by staff when judging my actions during confrontation.
Well, Wheaton watched this and said that it reminded him of the theme from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and that his father sought revenge for the death of his son.
Yeah.
Sergeant Ferengi, this is Commander
But he thought that the writing was weak overall. It's really hard to watch some of these episodes. When I watch these episodes now, I do it to kind of get the first opening roots of character development.
Yeah.
This is where we find out Picard had a previous command. This is where we find out how Riker really stands up as a first officer looking out after his captain.
Well, this was probably, as far as I've watched, and I only watched one episode past this in my rewatch for the show, this was my favorite sit by far. To just sit in the morning with a cup of tea and watch this. This is not an episode that I remembered well at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's all ears.
Oh, and Riker doesn't even crack a smile at that line. It's like and then the Ferengi said he was all ears. Geordi would have been rolling on the floor.
It is kind of a boring ship. They don't have a wide sense of humor.
Yeah.
This is still an early in the series, and it was produced and written by a lot of people who had their hands or influenced by the original series. And you can see it's they're kind of trying to make it like that. They hadn't developed past that model
Not resting, Captain.
of the show. Where
Over here.
Could you imagine having a doctor that showed up every couple of seconds to make sure you were following the treatment? I mean, that's her job, but
Captain. Something unusual.
it would still be tough.
Doctors always say the obvious is a revelation.
Why the captains always act like they're immortal.
The stereotype which I wish they get
That's such
rid
a-
of. They should have a hypochondriac
That's
captain who goes in every episode. If Barclay made a captain, it's like, oh, I think I've got a space fleet.
Yeah. We'll be seeing Barclay for the first time, I think, next season.
Oh, I'm sorry. Spoilers.
You didn't tell me it had been this bad.
It wasn't this bad. It was getting worse.
Well, when watching this as a youth, I remember thinking, wow, I mean, everybody just drops everything they're doing and commits 100% of their resources to fix the problem. And I was just floored that nobody did that in real life. And then I realized how much tremendous work that was to fix a headache, for example.
So, perhaps you talked about it.
Want to talk about it?
No.
No, I don't want to talk about it.
The fight, I destroyed this entire
It was like I pushed the button and the lightning came out and kapow! Exploded. I saw little arms and legs and tiny hands.
Tell me about the altered log, if that's what's troubling you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So there's an altered log where Picard admits to killing a surrendering ship or something like that. And now he's getting second thoughts.
Like I said, it's the conundrum of I remember one thing, but the evidence suggests that the other thing might be true. And if Picard was on the other side of this, he would not be as... if it was Riker who was dealing with this, Picard would be far less kind to him than Riker is being right now. You know, the logs are the logs.
Yeah, but even in this, he admits that those logs were...
Yeah.
He said, well, I didn't do it, but that's clearly my voice, so somehow they altered the logs.
Yeah.
And
Which is funny because we can do that now. You can sample someone's voice and then make a fake speech out of it.
Right, but you'd be able to tell that it sounded unnatural. You wouldn't be able to make it sound as good as what they have at this point.
And everyone sleeps in their uniform with an uncomfortable pillow. But that's not a space blanket. You notice this blankets are always like this really shiny, neon-y...
That's because it holds more heat.
well, it looks like IKEA outfitted got the furniture
Could you
contract
imagine
for the Federation.
how hard it would be to have a ship where it's a different specific temperature in every crew quarters?
That would be a lot of... That'd be a lot of energy. Under the desk, everyone's got a little space heater.
Yep.
Oh, flashback time. Sweat on the back of the neck.
I mean, it would be just about as hard as doing it for every single hotel room in a large hotel in Vegas. If you think about it, you know. 500-room hotel.
I like Bach.
Yeah.
He's cool.
What I've always found funny in some of these early episodes when they show these alien bridges or alien spaceships is there's always some sort of smoke. They always seem smoky.
I was going to say about these things on the side of Picard's head that are supposed to help him sleep. Can you imagine if they started making those for kids? For, like, your kid's acting up and you just slap it with a little off-switch button. Pass out immediately.
Bach played by Frank Corsentio.
Now, I really don't like how this looked, but I heard that how they did this actually took quite a bit of oomph to mat all this stuff in with the translucent people and putting the fire in and everything, and they shot them all separately. So effort was put toward what I think is ultimately not a very interesting looking.
Well, imagine if you're the special effects guy and you're reading through the script, it says Picard interacts with ghost fire.
Yeah.
You're like, what the...
But it's nice to know that the Starfleet uniforms were pretty much the same 9 years before.
But see, that's the problem. Is they'll have other flashback episodes around that time, and they're wearing the movie era uniforms.
Yeah.
Like when they reference Jack Crusher, Beverly Crusher's husband, and stuff like that.
Well, that was 14 years ago, though.
Right, but then
And
they'll
also,
reference other things. But they'll reference other ships from.
And the other
10
guy you
years
see
ago.
wear the movie uniform is Troy's father, who's also quite a long time before this.
All information is time-coded by entry. And the
Oh, here we go.
will produce an aggregate amount which
I don't want a computer science lesson, Data. Bottom line.
one of these two logs is a forgery, sir.
Correction. The log just found aboard the Stargate is a forgery.
As I said, that is one of them. Is it not?
Shoot. We missed it.
We missed it.
Darn it.
We keep on looking for a scene that refuses
Jordy.
to appear.
Yeah. No, that was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
He's looking way too happy.
Which is what he always does when he's going crazy, is he gets super casual with everybody. We saw this in the episode with the Nebula.
That's
he's got his feet up on the desk. And in a later episode, he gets replaced and gets super cash.
Thank you for the confirmation. But now, except for Riker, I would like you all to return to your stations.
Everyone goes back to work.
You know what it turned out to be? Kidney stones. Look at this puppy.
Well, maybe that's what the crystal is on his desk.
Hit the side of the bowl with a clang like a bullet. A bullet, number one. I'm going to name him Ricochet Jack. After Jack Crusher. Because it's something that came out of my penis.
What?
So, kidney stone.
He's doing a bit. He's doing a bit. Yeah. A bit. Oh, man.
Took it too far again.
Oh, we'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Where's that tractor beam? Oh, he just changed his face.
Yeah.
There we go. Something's up.
Do you think they ever ask Troy to just, like, when things are going bad, to come in and, like, sing the national anthem? This scene is one of the worst parts of the whole thing.
This whole episode's part of the worst thing.
I like this. Like I said, I like this episode.
Crusher trying to point out, aren't you kind of useless, Troy?
Hey, guess what? And Troy's like, unless this specifically has to do with what we happen to be talking about right now, Wesley, it's not important. And we all know there's any number of crazy things Wesley could know about. Anyway,
No, he's doing the thing. He's doing the thing. He noticed one thing to another thing, and they are really annoyed. Like, why is this kid talking?
I don't know. Engineering has nothing like it.
Delta Wades. Riker.
And here we go. This is what tanks the episode.
Oh.
And then he goes, ugh.
Adults.
And then they all just break into What's the Matter with Kids Today from Bye Bye Birdie.
Resting in his quarters after ordering both of you to return to your duty stations.
Where is
Troy's?
Troy's
I was
duty
going to say,
station?
where is Troy's duty station? Some chair in a corner somewhere.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of nice sand for me to handle. It makes me happy. I feel good when I touch sand. Oh, hi, doggy.
So this is one of many conversations they have in the show about Captain's not doing good. Should we mutiny yet?
Yeah.
Now, Archer never brought Porthos on the bridge with him, correct?
I don't think he did.
Because I'm trying to think.
Archer, that's from the show Enterprise.
Yes, he had a pet beagle named Porthos, but
There's the helm.
Yeah, I was imagining what it would be like if, say, Troy had like a Pekingese that she was brought on the bridge. They're like
on her shoulder.
Yeah, they're like freaked out every time it saw Worf.
And then that we should just kind of go one more layer where you have like a lower decks ensign with this ferret on his shoulder.
just like with like flaming red hair and freckles.
His name's Clarence.
Kind of messed up teeth. Picard looks at him and he's stuffing the ferret down the front of his shirt.
If anything, you'd see a member of the crew walking around with like a quote unquote therapy tribble. That would just that would also just freak out every time Worf came in.
That's day in his.
I sense hostility from the tribble. Also, it needs badly to use the bathroom. Oh, it did on my hand.
I think we're watching a show.
I know.
Hey, so the Stargazer's powering up. Picard beamed over. Bach was there, turned up the power, and he is mocking
Picard
him
is
good.
slumping over. Yeah. It's rather ungainly. I'm going to set it down on the floor. Please don't poke at it or try to smash it. Thank you.
Can you not remember the crime you committed against my very blood?
Your very blood? I don't have a problem with your blood.
Your son, he was commander of the ship.
And it turns out, yeah, his... So Damon Bach's son was the commander of the ship that Picard blew up, and the big thing we didn't mention is the Ferengi are very much a commerce race. Everything's about profit. They gave this ship to Picard without accepting money for it, which is just not done.
Yeah. Well, there's the B plot, where the show really hasn't gone into A plots, B plots yet, but Riker has talked to the second in command a couple of times about this already. What's his name? Cosgo.
Cosgo, ba-da-da-bum-bum-bum-bum-ba-da-da.
Cosgo, bump, only when you drive over speed bumps. Wah, wah, wah.
Who's the first officer of the Ferengi who flies around in an old one?
So the guy who plays Cosgo,
Oh god, that looks bad.
Doug Warhit, is a author, director, actor, licensed psychotherapist, and life coach who also played a Ferengi.
So the same qualifications as Troy.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not qualified to coach anyone's life.
He was
But
also,
I can tell if they're having a bad day. Always they are.
he was also an elf.
Alf.
Yeah.
How come they never had Alf come to the Enterprise? Would have been great fun.
Seems to be a network of miniature circuitry stores.
Why? Just have
I
him come
think
and
Alf
chase Dia's
and-
cat around.
Oh, Geordi just dropped the Captain America line looking at that thing. Seems to be a network of miniature surgery. It appears to be mechanical.
So they're trying to figure it out, that the captain's been subdued by this mind control device. They're all really happy that there's a solution. Except
And
for
yet
Riker.
nobody has said, let's turn it off.
Yeah.
It's like, let's run through the ship showing everybody.
His head just blows up like the beginning of Scanners.
There's our life coach.
I will discuss that with your
He wrote a book called The Book Job, 143 Things Actors Need to Know to Make It Happen.
Huh. I'd love to hear the testimonials of the people that made it happen because of his book.
How do you have possession of that? It was found in our captain's chest, which was brought over from the Stargazer.
In your captain's chest? How would it fit in there?
No, a chest that you carry things in.
Yes, your heart, your lungs, your circulatory system, basically. How did you get that inside him? I understand what humans call chest.
You need a chest like Troy's to fit that in there.
Yeah.
Oh!
Switch now. Enterprise Picard.
Oh, Picard's going full Vietnam vet on him. Digging foxholes in the front yard.
Still at Maxia in his mind.
And again, no one has thought to maybe turn this thing off.
Now, yeah, that's kind of cool that, this ship that was left derelict by Starfleet, didn't try to find it, didn't try to blow it up, can also be completely controlled by one person.
And still apparently has a full complement of weapons.
Yep.
Well, you missed it when Bach was there on the bridge with Picard kind of gloating. He said, well, we fixed it up. It's all automated. It will listen to your commands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you had magic dialogue in there that made sense.
Okay, fair enough.
And actually, in this scene, you can hear him saying, damn it, you're moving too slow because the computer can't keep up. There's the interacting with ghost fire. That's almost that sideways shot that they did of Picard.
Yeah.
That's kind of a lot of what they did in the old Batman TV series in the movie.
That's called a Dutch angle.
Yep.
Now we have Troy telling us, I'm sensing he's going to do something desperate, despite the fact that he's already announced he's going to do something
this is great.
desperate.
He's like, okay, Data, how do we fight the Picard maneuver? We can't. Can't we? Oh yeah, we can.
Not now, Kazago. We do not wish to become involved in what has become clearly a Federation matter. Fine. Enterprise out. You should also know that Damon Bach no longer commands this vessel.
Oh! Bacchus
I ran up
thrown.
behind him and pinched him real good on his ears, and we pulled him into a little holding cell and stuck a broom in the door. Can't get out. Plus, he'll have to pay for the broom if he breaks it. We'll charge him 50 strips of platinum.
Now, Damon Bach will make an appearance later on. I think
Yeah.
in season 5 or 6.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Blow our captain to bits. This class starship has enough power to use our tractor beam on it, sir. Seize it. Limit its field of fire. Right. Concentrate shields at that point. Make it
So that is one of the few times you hear Data use a contraction.
He uses them quite a bit.
Yeah, but it's very few that he does, because it's supposed to be built into a script that he doesn't do that.
Ah, did someone screw that up?
Yeah.
Continuity problems. Oh, there it is. Got him.
All right.
That's a good effect.
Yeah, but it
Okay.
looks a lot better in the HD version too. It's not as everything's super tight in this, and the other one gives it a better sense of space.
I love that bridge.
It is pretty good.
I love broken, dirty ships. One thing that I really liked about Battlestar Galactica was you had rolling damage. So the ships in the first couple episodes were way more torn up in the last half of the episodes.
Yeah.
So I was really hoping for shows like Voyager that the ship would change and morph and become more worn in. Everything's just seems so damn clean on
We
Next
get to
Generation.
see, yeah.
Well, that's probably because they can just replicate new pieces whenever they need it.
But I'd like to see them do that. So when they
Alright.
say this section has been blown out, I want to see a blown out section, not just it repaired and back to normal. Oh,
Will it work?
I need to fire a gun while I'm going crazy.
The top opens up and a little man inside. No! I was just doing my job.
So what about the one on the bridge? That's what I want to know about, that Geordi was just holding.
I like the end of this a lot.
Captain, are you all right?
Should I
All
stay
right.
or should I go?
Stunt double did most of the work in that one.
My number one. Aboard the Stargazer, sir.
So I am.
The Siberian destroyer has been controlling your Bach.
Bark, 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 bark,
Yeah.
bark, bark.
Move from command.
Did you just say the F word at me?
Seems there was no problem.
No, I said Bach. I'm sorry, I'm not hearing correctly. Are you cursing at me? Bach! Bach! Damn it, I heard it, damn it! Oh, here's...
the dead rest. And the past. Remain the past.
Thank you, Picard.
I've just been through a tremendously traumatic event, but it's over now.
That means he's
Oh,
healthy.
Beam me home, Riker. I love the end line of this. And
Marching music.
Great Ron Jones march.
Dun,
There
dun,
they
dun,
go.
dun, dun. I want that ship.
Yeah.
I want an old beat up ship that nobody else in the Federation wants.
And that's the battle. We want to
Yay!
thank Matt for joining us. If you have any thoughts about what we said, or we out of our minds, please address them to nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. We will answer you on the show.
Also, make sure to find us on Facebook and iTunes. Also, want to give out a quick shout out to an amazing podcast called Mark's Mess.
Mark's Mess Podcast.
Yeah, Mark's Mess Podcast, and several fine other folks that do sci-fi and comic book commentary. Thank you once again. I am Sascha Shouties.
Patrick Delmore.
Matt Kirchner.
Woohoo! And have a wonderful day. Dun, 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 dun. So you're the guest.
So Sascha, what's
So,
Star Trek?
hi,
Next
I'm the
Generation?
guest.
So Sasha, what is Star Trek? We're only in the first season right now, so there's a lot that's coming down the line. Let us know what episode you might like to appear on, and we'll see if we can schedule you in on the show.
You can find this podcast at Google Play, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Libsyn.com. Music credits include As Colorful as Ever by Broke for Free, Brook Branch by Evan Schaefer. Music heard in this podcast can be found at freemusicarchive.org.
If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. Do you have a podcast that you think people should be listening to? Send us your promos and we'll play them on the show. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sascha Shouties.
And if you liked this episode, the next episode is already waiting for you on Facebook at Next Generation's First Generation.
Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Good night.